doing? I'm out of breath just from being the cameraman and
And I'm just sitting here.
yeah.
It's all right. Works
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. So anyway, hi, I'm Elizabeth Ward. This is Hillary Wright, and we are the authors of the Menopause Diet Plan. And today we are going to talk about intermittent fasting because we get a lot of questions about it. We see a lot of comments about it on, social media, and we just wanted to jump on and talk about the potential benefits, the different types. And we wrote about it in the book. There is a form of intermittent fasting that we are fans of, but we're going to tell you that at the end. But Hillary, just describe intermittent fasting.
So intermittent fasting there's actually several different ways that this is talked about. A couple of which we're not fans of because we don't see it as any more sustainable than over-restrictive dieting. So that would be people trying to fast every other day. So keep in mind that fasting is less than 500 calories a day.
Okay.
Then there is what's called 5-2 fasting, where people eat what they want 5 days a week, and then 2 days a week they do that fasting thing.
Yeah.
So there may be like some engineers out there that can like wrap their brains around that and just do it.
Let me ask my husband if he could do that. He's an engineer. No, I don't think so.
But again, we're always on the lookout for things that are going to be temporary, and again, temporary change results in temporary changes. And so there's a third type of intermittent fasting that really is more appropriate to call it extended time fasting.
Yep.
And, again, what's kind of a bummer about all this stuff, as soon as you start talking about it like that, it sounds like you're talking about some diet thing. All we're really talking about is that there seems to be some metabolic benefits to trying to have some complementary hours in your day when you're not eating and digesting food.
Yeah.
So that's what extended time fasting is.
And most of that can be when you're sleeping.
And it should be, I believe this strongly, it should coincide with the rising and the setting of the sun, because we know that metabolically our bodies behave differently based on our circadian rhythms.
Right.
So some people are doing the fasting thing, CrossFit. Did I just say CrossFit?
No, you did not say that. Don't sue us.
Where they're telling people to not eat breakfast and then to eat between 8 and 8. So again, I think that that's not sustainable.
8 a.m. and 8 p.m.?
I mean, I'm sorry, I messed that up.
Yeah.
12 and 8.
Okay, so 12
So within 8 hours.
Yeah, okay.
So they're telling people not to eat breakfast and start eating at noon and stop eating at 8. So one thing that really bugs me about that is, you have to eat a certain amount of times during your waking hours to get in the healthy foods we want people to eat. So that's not realistic, and nor do I think it's healthful to do it that way.
Well, I think you should pick, if you're going to do something like that, pick your own time frame. Why should, let's say you liked breakfast. Why, eat breakfast and then here's what we like, what we favor, right? Maybe 10 to 12 hours, if you could, of not eating, right? But most of it is spent in bed. You should be getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. In our book, we talk about not eating after dinner for a reason. I mean, number one, it doesn't coincide with your circadian rhythms like Hillary is talking about. You just don't metabolize food as well at night. And secondly, of course, it could disturb your sleep as well if you eat too much. We've all done that, right?
A lot of people realize that, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess thirdly is because we find that so many women are in that pattern where, food after dinner is their way to de-stress. So you get extra calories. So if you think to yourself, I'm going to try to take 10 to 12 hours out of my day and not eat, that really probably includes not eating after dinner. So.
But the science behind the curtain on the intermittent fasting is that when we are fasting, it means not only are we not eating, but we've completed processing all the foods that we ate, carbohydrates, proteins, fats. And when we eat food, our body produces growth hormones. Yeah. And that's a necessary thing. It takes the nutrients from your blood and it sends it into your cells so your cells can grow. So that has to happen. The most dominant growth hormone in the body is insulin. Insulin is mostly connected to regulating, carbohydrate metabolism, but it's involved in protein and fat also. But at its core, insulin is an anti-starvation hormone. It likes to store fuel. So insulin will move whatever glucose out of your blood and into your cells that your cells will take on, but then they're going to shut the door. And the insulin is going to say, well, I'm an anti-starvation hormone. I don't want to waste this precious fuel. What am I going to do with it? It'll try to jam some of it into your muscles as glycogen, but it can also convert it into triglycerides, which is fat, and it really likes to store it here.
Yes,
Oh,
in the
belly fat
belly.
concerned people.
Belly fat.
And once
Yuck.
it jams the fat into where it likes it, it actually can protect and defend your fat. So the idea behind intermittent fasting is that you have a decent number of hours where you're not in fat storing mode because your insulin levels are down. The thing is, you're not fasting just because you finished eating and put your fork down. You have to, put your fork down, liquefy your food, metabolize all that stuff. It takes a few hours.
Yeah.
So if people are eating, kind of well beyond darkness into the night, then we are, in all likelihood, robbing our body of important hours when our body should be removing calories from storage. But instead, it's being protected because our body is still engaged in digestion.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. So the bottom line is that it's not that we don't like intermittent fasting. We don't like the harshness of the 16-8 and the 5-2. And we do know that can trigger some disordered eating as well if you have a history of that. So we're not big on it. But, again, and sometimes people have said to us, well, telling people not to eat after dinner that's also restrictive. Yeah, okay, it might be, but we're doing it for metabolic reasons as well. So you really can gain a lot. If you're really hungry, go ahead and eat. But we think if you eat enough during the day, you're going to be fine. You're going to be able to.
And I think that's the critical piece.
Yes.
Because people, women especially, often undereat during the day.
Right.
Either because they're busy running around doing all their multitasking, or they're spending a lot of their energy dieting until it finally blows up at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. So a lot of times people, it's not to say we don't eat for pleasure after dinner, but a lot of times we're undereating during the day, and we might literally still be hungry.
Right.
So trying to eat more during the day to see if it helps dinner be satisfying and, being able to continue on the rest of your night before bed without eating is a potential thing, because people say they want to get at the belly fat, so that's just part of it.
Right. If you want to get at the belly fat, try to go 10 to 12 hours at night without eating. That's really the bottom line. And until we see you next time, goodbye and
See you later.
happy eating.
Hope that was interesting.